Hi, Shaun.
Hello.
How does it feel being back in Sheffield for another year?
Yeah, it's magic. Every time we walk through the doors and come up here, it just takes me back to being a kid. The first time I came here in 1992 as a 9-year-old boy, I went through those very doors behind us over there to watch Peter Ebdon make his debut against Steve Davis. And each time I've come back since, it's just magic. You know, this place for snooker players, this is it.
So you were happy about the news. You're happy that we're staying here for another 2 decades.
Delighted.
Yeah.
Knew nothing about it as well. It was really funny how the news came out. You know, World Snooker, they didn't sort of tell the players before. We were actually viewing a house.
Oh, wow.
And the estate agent got his phone out. He said, I've just had a notification here about the snooker staying at the Crucible. That's good news. I had no idea.
You should know that.
Yeah, delighted. Goes without saying.
So we obviously are developing snooker in Sri Lanka, and it's been great to see the Chinese development. And obviously I've got a special little interest today because Antek Kowalski is going to be the first Polish pro to walk down the stairs of the Crucible. I mean, the game is in good shape, would you say, globally, and there's room for more?
Yeah, I think years ago, the word sort of, we're a truly global game was said about snooker. And I think a few raised eyebrows were lifted around maybe 15, 20 years ago. People were saying, well, I'm not sure that's true. It's true now. You know, we're all over the world in every territory. There's participants everywhere, and we're seeing new players from different countries all the time, coming up, chasing their dreams. Antek Kowalski, who I've known since he was a child, since he was just a little boy. Not that he's he's much older now. He looks the same. But I've known him since he was a very small child. He's been dreaming of making his debut here at the Crucible, as we all did, since he was old enough to understand snooker. And for him and his family, it's a total dream come true.
What advice would you give to youngsters in countries like Sri Lanka and India, the subcontinent, where it's there's a captive market, but there's work to be done? We're trying to develop it and grow it there. We're a country that we'll sit through a 5-day test. We love cricket. We like the long mental games. We're happy for that. That's why the Crucible is so special, I think, because that's a test. What advice would you give to those youngsters who there's a big gap at the moment between the snooker world and the subcontinent? Have you got any advice for them trying to make it through, like breaking through without the infrastructure?
It's very difficult. I mean, the infrastructure of today, wasn't around in my day. When I was coming through as a junior player, we didn't have a great infrastructure either. But yes, maybe in the UK things were slightly easier to access than they are elsewhere in the world. But I think certainly with the birth of social media, all of the content that's available to watch online now for young people, none of that was available for me. You couldn't watch the legends playing and learn from them. You couldn't watch games on tap. Had to have a video and watch it when it was on. You couldn't watch things on demand. All of that resource didn't exist. So I would argue that young players, no matter where you're from now, have got a better opportunity now than ever before. If you've got access to a queue and a table, and you have the time to practice and practice and practice, there are no shortcuts. You have to practice. You have to be. That is the secret. I think a lot of people think that there's some magical shortcut that they can take. If I play in that academy, or if I'm managed by that person, or whatever, if I'm seen with him or her, then I'll make it. The truth is, you have to be willing to sacrifice everything else and just practice and play snooker. And if you're willing to work hard enough at it, the rewards are there for you.
Yeah, and I think once you get here as well, with Antek, we worked a lot on they can all play. Once you get on the tour, you can play snooker, and I love the qualifiers because of that. The youngsters really shine. You get to see them and how you realise everyone can play snooker on this tour. But the difference is obviously the temperament, the mind game, and everything. And so, a big difference was taking him down to Ken Doherty and taking him to Mark Selby. Let us practice with him. How important do you think, or was it for you, to be around the top players, the big boys? How important is that?
It's vitally important, learning from the best. If you have access to the top players and you can practice with the best in the world, who could you possibly be better to learn from? It is the best thing possible. One of the things that impressed me most with Antek specifically was, there are two big factors: the mental side of the game, how you think about the game, what you think about yourself, self-esteem. All of that is massively important, and then it's practice. It's good old-fashioned time on the table. And I was so impressed with Antek during the Players' Championship, which he wasn't a part of, but he went to support his great friend Chris Wakelin. And when the practice room was empty, he jumped on the table and was practicing. Would have been very easy to take that week off.
Yeah.
or not bother, or not come and attend the event. Because every time he's there, he's learning, he's watching, he's seeing what people are doing, he's learning the ropes. And when he walks out here at the Crucible, yes, it's his debut, but he's more used to these big match environments now, purely because he took those few days out of his life. And as I say, I was very impressed that when the table became free, he jumped on and was potting balls and things. And then especially in the context of the qualifiers, where he had to qualify for the Crucible to retain his tour card. Incredible achievement.
Not a plug for my management skills, but it's the Mother Goose effect, dragging him around to Telford and Manchester and everywhere Mark Selby was.
It's those small differences, because everybody can play.
Yeah.
You know, what's the difference between player A and the other 150 players? You know, if you look at the top players, the best players, the players who've won here, they will all have certain trademarks in common. They will all have certain things that they've all done slightly differently than the others, because winners don't think like the rest. They don't think like everybody else. That's why they're winners.
And in terms of those two, let's just take those two people that we practice with. Not everyone has those access to that. But if you're practicing with a senior person, someone that's better than you, Ken was very hands-on coaching, you know, showing him things. Mark basically took him into the club, best of 19, silence, a lot of pressure, and recreating almost the match practice, match play. Which of those do you think is more important, or do you just need both in terms of your practice routine?
I think you need both, and then I think you need masses of solo practice. Those hours on your own are vital as well. But I mean, the hands-on approach from someone like a Ken, who would be showing him different things on the table. I can imagine him doing it. You know, what about this? What about that? And then the hard yard practice with Mark Selby shaking. And Mark Selby would practice with Amtech as if it was the World Championship. He wouldn't say a word.
True.
And that's proper practice. That's one of the mistakes a lot of players make. They're on their phone, they're checking their TikTok, they're having a word with their mate. It's all very casual. Oh yeah, it's my shot. It's all very casual. It's not work. That's why you don't see them with the trophy.
Finally, you are, and you touched on it earlier, you are someone that has got to grips with all the social media stuff. You are social media personality. You put out so much content out. And how important is that? I guess you've touched on it. That was going to be my question, but you obviously see that as something that you're doing for the next generation, and not just to bring fans in, not to build your own profile. I'll speak for you on that. But from what you said there, you feel like that is vital, do you think, to pass on what your routine, your life,
there's so much negativity thrown around about social media, and I have to say, on my day, you know, when you're reading the comments and they're not very nice, you know, sometimes I have my own moments where I think, why are we doing this? But it's such a great tool to be able to connect with the next generation and to try to give something back. You know, we're all looking at our careers going, how can I make snooker better? When I do end up walking away from it, you know, hopefully in a long time, how can I make sure that the game is better then than it is today? And you know, we try to give as much as we possibly can through all of our different platforms to the next generation, just to try to make it as fun as we possibly can, connect to them on a professional level, on a personal level, make it fun. We've got the dog, we've got the house, you know, all the rest of it. But I have to give credit to my fiance, who's just stood over there.
I do follow her,
it's all Joe. Like, it's, you know, it's not me. You know, obviously the content is me playing snooker and whatever, but Joe's the passion behind it. She's driving it. She's got the phone out. She's recording. She's putting it all together. The unsung hero of it all. When it goes right, it's Joe's fault. And when it goes wrong, it's my fault.
Like every good marriage. Well, anyway, good luck. Thank you for all your advice, and you've been brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Cheers.